Hey everyone, welcome to our second session of the Marine API Tech Talk and Office Hours. So, to anyone who joined us earlier, and then Luis had this guess for you. If any of you guess which one was the song that we were playing before, you're gonna get a free quick laugh. So, make your guesses over there in the chat. But welcome everyone to this our second session. I'm so happy that we're able to wrap the year with you with this tiny deep dive that Luis is gonna present us today. What we have for you today is, of course, giving you the welcome to this last session of the year. Then, for those who may be familiar or not with the Medin API community, I'll give you a bit of a heads up. Then we're gonna have Luis Cuellar talking us about Apigee Advanced API Security, a brief deep dive into this. And then, of course, like the purpose of this session is to have a Q&A and a friendly discussion. We're going to have that towards the end. And then we'll do the wrap up and we'll give you the heads up for what's coming up in the next year. So without further ado, I'm going to talk to you a bit about this community was originated. So you'll see here in the screen the speakers, which I have Luis Cuellar and then Jimena, but you're going to see with the surname of Marine API. These two folks were the ones who organized this community to be born in Madrid back in 2022 or 2023. What's it, guys?
2022.
Gotcha. So, but then the purpose of this community is to evolve into a community that is for developers and with the help of the developers, so that you can be empowered with knowledge sharing, accelerated adoption, and build a strong community of enthusiasts around the world. So, with that being said, welcome to our Medin API community. And then here are the simple rules that we have for these sessions. We're gonna have 2 to 15 minutes presentation each time. For now, it's gonna be just one presentation from Luis, but it's gonna be 30 minutes. And then towards the end, we're gonna have the Q&A forum so we can bust a discussion. You can leave your questions in advance or you can just open your mic and share them with us. We will meet, like it said in here, almost every Thursday. For the upcoming two Thursday, we won't be seeing you around due to the holidays, but expect to see us at the beginning of January. If you go to our RSVP, which I'll leave you in the chat in a minute, we'll be able to find the upcoming sessions and register to join us. And then if you miss any of these sessions, don't worry, we will share this via the Google Cloud community so that you can be able to watch them and catch up anytime. And then last call, we would love to have some of you joining us in this session to talk about your expertise, do some presentations, and be part of the community as you can join us in presenting in here as well. And well, wrapping this up, if you want to leave your questions in advance as Luis walks you through these advanced and API security features and updates, please look for these three figures in your Google Meet and then go to the Q&A and then we'll do the follow-up with your questions at the end. And well, let me introduce myself as I haven't done so. My name is Alex or Alexandra, whichever way you prefer to call me. I am the Developer Relations Program Manager for Google Apigee and Application Integration. And the speaker that I have with you today usually goes by Engineer of Important Matters in Apigee, but he has been in Google for around 8 years. So without me saying nothing more, Liz, please go ahead and tell us a bit more about yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. As Alex was telling you, I'm Luis Cuellar. I'm working as a customer engineer for Apigee in the Iberia region. I'm pretty much more than 3 years in Apigee from now. Prior to that, I was working as a customer engineer for GCP back in my days in Latin America. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm thinking we can start, okay? Hopefully, we're going to have the half an hour, no more than that, hopefully, because I want to do a couple of demos. Please don't forget to put your questions in the Q&A, and we are going to be more than happy to respond. We are going to give you a brief deep dive. I don't know if those words can be together, but actually, we wanted to do it that way because we are trying to give you a small teaser of what advanced API security are and which are the main features in this component, okay? First thing that I want to say, and I'm always telling the people who see in this presentation that here it usually comes like the most recent API breaches in the news. For example, who were the companies that were attacked, which are the breaches that that company has, and everything. I didn't want to put that anymore intentionally because the only thing that I want for you to know is that security breaches still coming, still keeping in the loop of the hackers. They are trying to exploit your information, trying to exploit all of the components, and the idea is that we can have the tools in order to like attack or be secure against those components. Okay. The first thing that we have to have in mind is that Apigee itself has a lot of policies, a lot of security policies that are going to help us to protect against those attackers, against those malicious people or malicious intruders. But we are relying on the implementation of those tools. Those tools are or those policies are really really good. For example, we have throttling, we have quota, we have job tokens protection, OAuth or something like that. But we are relying on who is the person who that implements those policies that in the terms of security in Apigee, those policies are really, really good. But what we want to show today is how we proactively can protect and we can protect the APIs or the backends that we are exposing using Apigee with a couple of components that we were trying to explore in terms of advanced API security. Okay. The first thing that we are going to see is how we can make every API visible in order for you to avoid shadow APIs, in order for you to avoid hidden APIs that can be in the company. The second component that we are going to see is how we can ensure standardization or consistent standards across the company, how we can make the compliance of the company to be achieved. And finally, this is pretty much in the sense of detecting, okay? And at the end, what we want to do is to understand what is happening with the traffic. And after understanding what is happening with the traffic, we want to act according to that traffic. Okay. The first thing that we are going to see is how we can make every API visible. And here it comes a new feature from advanced API security point of view. And also we can see that advanced security API is like a premium security component from Apigee. In this sense, what we are going to have is something that is going to allow us to detect shadow APIs within the network from Google, okay? Any component that has a load balancer from Google Cloud is going to be detected, is going to be analyzed, and if we are exposing an API through these load balancers in Google Cloud, we are going to be able to identify the traffic, to make a catalog of that traffic and understand what is happening, and we can say, okay, this is an API, and that API is being used in this path, in these resources, and so on. So the idea is that we can have all of the load balancer from Google Cloud measure or maybe have the metrics of those, and according to those metrics, we are going to identify these shadow APIs. What is coming in the future? The coming in the future is that we are going to be able to also extend the capabilities to other components that are not from GCP. This is something that we are going to show later in the future, okay? The second component that we want to show here is how we can ensure the standards, and here it comes. Actually, this is two things, okay? We are going to have something called risk assessment, and actually we are seeing the version 2 or the risk assessment. For the people who knows advanced API security, know that we have a first version of this assessment, and this version of the assessment has, let's say, some features that doesn't fulfill the needs that the companies are having. Which are these needs? For example, in the first version, when we were doing an analysis or risk assessment of the APIs, we can also call it API scoring. It took like around 2 or 3 minutes in order to analyze all of our environments, in order to analyze everything we're having here after having a result. In the second version, we are removing that delay, and we are doing real-time analysis of the APIs. And after doing that analysis, we can do the assessment. Which kind of assessment we are doing? Pretty much what we have to do here is to create a profile. And by creating that profile, we are going to analyze the policies against that profile. This profile is going to analyze, for example, which are the policies that we are implementing in Apigee, also which is the connectivity that we are having with the backends, And according to the policies or the components that we have defined in that profile, we are going to do an scoring. And here we comes the second modification that we have from, for example, from the version one of the risk assessment. In the previous version, we have an analysis from 200 to 1200, like a scoring in those in that range. But now we simplify that scoring, and we have a score between 0 and 100, being 0 as the low propensity to have a breach, and when we are reaching 100, it's going to be a higher risk to be under attack. Okay, and the third modification that we have in this assessment is that in the previous version we have blocks of policies. So, for example, we have policies of mediation, and we have, for example, X2, protection, JSON protection, or XM protection, or swap validation, or something like that. Okay, so we group those policies into this component, and the only thing that we were analyzing if one of these policies were implemented in the proxy. In the second version, what we are going to be able to do is to create a detailed profile, having or putting which are the policies that actually makes sense to me, and according to that policies, we are going to do the risk assessment or do the API scoring. And additional to this, we can say, for example, which of these policies has more impact or less impact in the scoring, and according to all of these weights, we can do a final scoring. So let's do a demo. I have now rights to share, right?
I
Let
think you
me share
should.
my
I
screen.
granted you access.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much.
Nice.
So for the people who doesn't know, hopefully everybody knows it. This is the GCP console, and we have the Apigee component here. And right in the left side of the Apigee component, we are going to have different capabilities. In these capabilities, we are going to have this advanced API security component, and the module that we are seeing is the risk assessment, as I was telling you before. Okay, this risk assessment, what you are seeing here is going to be the version 2 of the risk assessment. If you want to switch to the version 1, you also can do it here. Okay, this is what I was telling you, the scoring that we are having, and we have some threshold according to the measurements. And additional to this, we can change, for example, which kind of environment we are trying to analyze. You can put it here, and in the right side, we are going to have which are going to be the profile that we are having in order to do the risk assessment. Okay, the first thing, as I was telling you, that we have to do is to create a profile. We can have, for example, a profile that is a Google default profile that I was telling you. This profile has block of policies, like mediation policies, like threat policies, authorization policies. That is a couple of policies that we are grouping in order to do this analysis. But our recommendation is for you to create actually a profile that makes sense to you, and also that is going to be compliant across all your API proxies. For example, let's put a profile that is called made in API profile. Let me do a couple of some here. Then we can put the policies that I want to. Okay, sorry. Perfect. Then I can select the policies that I want to analyze. For example, authentication policies, core policies, mediation policies. Let's do first thing, authentication policy. Let's take a look. Okay. Let's do a verification of API key policy. I can put some weight, and I'm going to say, okay, this policy is according to protect, or maybe to do some protection of the backend. So I'm going to put a major weight in this policy. Also, in order to use course, I also want to do a course policy here. I'm going to put a course policy check. I'm going to say, okay, this is a moderate impact in the final scoring. And also I want to do maybe a spike arrest policy in order to analyze if this if the proxies are going to are having throttling protection. Okay, I'm going to put this as a minor. I'm going to create this profile. Then we can have our profile here. Okay, I'm going to go to the environment, and when I switch to the environment, I want for you to see that the analysis of the APIs and the scoring that we have in the full environment is going to be pretty much in real time. And additional to this, we can change the profile, and we can see also in real time how this is changing. For example, this is how many APIs I'm having with a high risk, how many APIs we are having in middle risk, and how many APIs we have in low risk. Okay. And additional to this, we can see, for example, the different API proxies, which is the severity, or which is the risk that we are having here. And also having this, we are putting which are the like according to the profile, which are the components that we are not fulfilling. For example, we have one major component that is not fulfilled, moderate, and one minor. And when we see the recommendations, we can see, for example, which is the weight of the policy or the component that I'm analyzing. Also, which we can see what we have to do in order to modify the weight in order to be compliant with the profile. And also, we are going to have here some edit proxy in order to take us to the proxy to do the modification. So what is coming over here? What is coming is that, of course, we know that Gen AI, or the components that we are having with generative intelligence, artificial intelligence, are going to help us to generate, for example, a piece of code in order to protect, or in order to implement the things that we are having here. By now, what we have to do is go to the proxy, and in going to the proxy, we can put we can implement the policies that is suggesting me to implement. So we can go here and then put, for example, the risk assessment, the spike arrest, and the API key verification, and so on. And that's pretty much the first thing that I wanted to show for you in order to do this risk assessment. Okay. One of the questions that I'm getting a lot is, for example, how we can do something like CI/CD. Why is that? Because, for example, if you see the analysis of the risk assessment analysis is after the deployment of the API proxy. So what happens if I'm doing a CI/CD and I want to do analysis before to do the deployment in production? So that's why, for example, we have the different stages of the software development lifecycle. So our suggestion is to do this assessment also in development or non-production before to pass it to production. So when you do the analysis in pre-production or non-production, and the risk assessment is okay for the API, then pass it to production. Okay. Perfect. The second component that we want to put here is how we can use AI in order to protect your endpoints, your workloads, or your backends. And in this component, what we want to do, or what we want to achieve, is to understand every attack that we are having, or understand the traffic that we are having in my instance of Apigee. How we do this? We do it in the four components that we are seeing in the screen. The first thing that we are doing is detecting what is happening. And here is where we use the AI models, or the AI components and the heuristics, in order to understand what is happening with the traffic, what is happening with the requests that are going to my backends. After understanding that traffic, after understanding what is happening if there is an attack, we can do some alerting, and the alerting can be doing with different components. For example, integrating with different CMs, integrating with cloud logging, or maybe with cloud monitoring in order to do some alerting, and so on. And after doing that kind of alerting, what we have to do is some triage. And with that triage, we want to understand what is happening with that traffic. If we have some security incident, what is causing that security incident, and so on. So in this component, we can do different tools in order to understand the causes of the attack, of the rule that was hit. And after doing this analysis, what we want to do is to act. And in the case of advanced API security, we want to act first reactively and then proactively. So in this case, we are doing something reactively because we are analyzing the traffic and we are trying to understand. And after understanding in a reactive mode, we are going to create some rules in order to act proactively. Okay. So here we have, for example, in order to detect and understand every attack, we are going to have the bot and abuse detection. For now on, we are having a couple of bots. You can see here the list of bots that or the rules that we are trying to detect in order for you to be protected against several kinds of attacks. For example, Fruiter, Bootguesser, Static Context Scrapper. So these attacks, or sorry, these rules that we have put it in place were rules that were created when we identified the traffic in the different APIs that Google has across the different services, for example, Maps APIs or other APIs. So what we did was understand the behavior or the attacks that were happening with those APIs and put those models into the advanced API security component. So when we have this kind of attacks, we are going to be able to identify. Additional to this, we have, for example, some anomaly detection, and that anomaly detection is going to be something that we call Taylor model. What happened or what is a Taylor model? So the anomaly detection, what it's going to do is going to analyze the traffic that you are having, and according with the traffic that you are having, is going to say, okay, this traffic is anomaly or not, according to the behavior or the usual traffic that we are having up to date. So the first thing that we're having in order to understand every attack, in order to detect the attack, is going to be out-of-the-shelf models, were the models that I was telling you. But we as Google and Apigee identified that this is the first half of being secure because those models were trained with the data that we have from Google Cloud itself, okay, on Google itself. And the second part is to have models that are tailored for us, that are trained with our data. And the first step to having these tailored models is the anomaly detection that I was telling you about. So after understanding the traffic, is going to identify which are the traffic that, according with the data, is considered as anomaly and is going to put you as a flag there. After doing that, the idea is that we can use, for example, components of GenAI in order to understand what is going on. For example, each time that we have an incident, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm not really good analyzing information. I'm not good analyzing the data and doing some correlation between dashboard and information. So for me, when I was doing the analysis in Apigee, and actually Apigee has a pretty good dashboards, pretty good information to do analysis. But for me, as a person, I can like make a conclusion according with that information. So what happened here is that we have insights from Gemini in the advanced API security module. So when you have an incident, you can do this, click on these insight components, and it's going to analyze the information for you, and it's going to give you some like really easy to understand insights. It's going to correlate all of the information, and it's going to tell you what is happening with in the attack. For example, prior to this meeting, we have a meeting with our customer. He hit the insight and it was saying, okay, the attack that you are having is from this IP, has 50% of the attack, and so on. The recommendation can be, for example, block that IP in order for you to be protected. So this is the kind of useful information that machine learning Gemini can give us in order for us to act according to the attacks. Okay. And finally, and to pass to the demo, how we can act on every attack. And here, for example, after doing the triage, after understanding what is happening with our traffic, we can create some rules or detection rules or security actions in order to protect our backends. How we can define these rules? For example, if I have OAuth abuser and identified an OAuth abuser, I want to create a rule that says, next time that an OAuth abuse happens in my environment or happens in this API proxy or happens in these three API proxies or occurs in these three API proxies, please act proactively and block the traffic or maybe flag the traffic, or maybe put allow the traffic. Those are the three actions that we can do. We can do it using the different kind of rules, like the one that I was telling you with the OAuth abuser, or we can define specific components like an IP range, like a Apigee, like different other components that we can customize. And additional to this, we can reply to the attacker saying you succeeded, you have a 404 response, you succeeded attacking or like denying our services, okay? And finally, I was forgetting this slide. Finally, this is not yet, but it's coming. When you are going to see that we identify which are the IPs that are attacking us, and we can click in one of those IPs, and we can understand what is happening or which is the reason of flagging this IP. Up today, we can see some information, but we cannot see the root cause of why this IP triggered this rule. So in the future, what we are going to see is, for example, this IP triggered the OAuth abuser rule because and this was the traffic that this IP put it in order to trigger this rule. Okay, let's see the demo because I'm running out of time. So let's go back to the risk assessment. After doing the risk assessment, we have here a couple of things. The first thing that we are going to see was abuse detection. The abuse detections, actually, prior this session, I was doing some attacks, so I should have some traffic. Hopefully, I should have some traffic from today. You can see here, which is the incident. Okay, I have first thing that we are going to see here is the summary of the incident, saying that I have anomaly traffic, also that I have, for example, more than 5,000 APIs that were attacking me. The risk of this attack is low because I'm attacking a lot of times with this same traffic, these MIPs, and the anomaly detection is saying, okay, this is usually in the environment of Luis. Okay, which are the traffic that was identified as a incident? It was pretty much 300K request that I was doing when it started the first attack, when it finished it, and which was the duration of this attack. Okay, I'm going to do a disclaimer also here because this is a test environment, so the traffic that I'm having here in regular basis is not that much. So usually when I have 10 queries or 10 requests in a day, it's going to say, okay, this is anomaly because you usually don't have traffic per day. So that's why, for example, it says that the attack started like 2 days ago. Okay, let's do a drill down into the attack. I'm going to try to remove this. Sorry. Okay. Let's do a small drill down. We can see here which are the rule that was hit. It was mainly the anomaly detection. Also, it was a Bruce Gesser also here. We can see the amount of traffic we were having across the time. It was a small timeline. Sorry. It was a small timeline here. And also, we can see here, for example, as I was telling you, which are the IPs that were attacking me. We can see the IP here. And as I was telling you, I can drill down, but I cannot see which was the reason of the incident. And this is the thing that is coming near in the future. Okay. So also we can see which are the countries that were doing the attack. And the good thing here, well, the two good things here that we can do is the insights, as I was telling you. And the insights is going to give me a small summary of what happened in the attack. Okay, it's saying that there is a high volume of attack exhibiting anomalous traffic in the past 24 hours, originating from US in the 40% of the traffic, by China almost 13%. This is the agent. Of course, it's a simulation. This is the agent that was attacking me, and the IP. I'm guessing these are the piece that has most significant attack. Okay, so I can read, and according to this, I can say, okay, help me to investigate further, or how I can enhance security, or how I can protect everything. And Gemini is going to help me with some suggestions. Okay, the other good thing that we can do here is, of course, the triage and do the drill down in the analysis. For example, in order to understand if there is an app involved, we can see that there is an app involved. So, for example, I can remove or maybe block that up. I can see if there is a developer involved. Also, I can see which are the API proxies that were involved. But for example, something that I want to highlight here, I can identify which are the keys that were involved. For example, in this case, if I identify that this is a attack from that key, there's a valid user and so on. Of course, so root user, okay. It's a attack from a valid user. What I can do is to remove the key, maybe, or just to put an action and say, next time that this key has like anomalous detection of the traffic, please block the traffic from that key. Okay, after doing the analysis, after doing the triage, what I want to create is an action, for example, a security action, in order to avoid that the next time that this attacking occurs, like affects my backend. So for next time, we are going to have a period of analysis. After the period of analysis passes, it's going to be triggered the action and it's going to do the action that I want to do. For example, let's create a security action that is going to be mapped in API action, for example, and okay, sorry, and I'm missing also the API. Imagine API action. Perfect. I have here, sorry, I'm going to do a small zoom. I can say, please protect all a full environment, or I can define which are the APIs proxy that I want to protect. For example, if I have more secure proxies, let's say, or more risky proxies to, or more, we have API proxies with more propensity to be attacked. So I can select those components. In this case, I'm going to say, please protect all of my environment. I can define, for example, expiration date for my rule. I can say, I'm going to say never. Then I want to define the rule. So for example, I can say I can have three kind of actions. One is allow the traffic, the second is deny the traffic, and the third one is flag the traffic. Allow the traffic, for example, and I want to be also honest with you, I was thinking, why I want to protect my backends by saying allow, okay? The explanation was, okay, let's imagine that you have a different CDN, a different component on top of Apigee. You can say, okay, the only traffic that can be accepted is from that component, so we can just accept the the traffic from that component. I didn't see until that response. I didn't see it that way, but now I'm thinking it's really useful. Now the two options that we can use to protect is deny or flag. The flag is pretty simple. We are going to add, for example, a header that is going to be any kind of header. I'm going to say risky, for example, risky header. I'm going to say true. And I'm going to define, if I want to define another here, I can do it. And I can define a condition. The condition can be, for example, one of the detection rules that you can see here. In this case, were two detection rules. One was brute gesture, and the other one was anomaly detection. I'm going to say just brute gesture. If I want to do another condition, I can do it. Okay, so in this case, what is happening here? What is happening is that I'm putting a flag in order, in this sense, let's think that advanced API security or these security actions happens before the traffic arrives or they breach the API proxy or the policies of that API proxy. So what I'm doing is to add in a new header in order for the proxy to process that header. For example, if I want to send that traffic, that request to a CM, to a different component to be analyzed, this is the way to do it. So what I'm going to do is, next time in the API proxy is to say, if the header is risky is true, please send it to, for example, Chronicle or something like that, or do this kind of action, okay? And the other thing that we can do is, of course, deny. And deny, we can do the same thing, for example, using the detection rules, or as I was telling you, for example, the API key that we just saw before, and say, okay, next time that it happens with this API key, because maybe it's a valid traffic, maybe no, I don't want to remove the key because that reason, so I can put the value of the key, and next time that this happens, is going to, for example, deny the traffic. And also, something that we can do here is we can put a predefined message or a custom message. The predefined, as I was telling you, it can be 401, 403, or maybe we can say, okay, if I'm attacker, I want to do a DOS. So I'm going to spec some 404 saying, okay, after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you like take down my backend. Okay. After doing this, we are going to create the rule. And after creating the rule, what is happening is that I'm going to have, sorry, uh, going to have the rule here in order to see if the traffic was blocked, it was not blocked. For example, let's do with this footer. And we can see that there is an environment traffic. There was some detected traffic as a risky, but you can see, for example, that the detected traffic is not related to the flutter, because if you remember, the reason of that traffic was a anomaly detection or was a brute guesser. It was not a flutter. That's why, for example, in this case of this rule that is just for flutter, doesn't deny any kind of traffic, but they identify as a potential risk the other rule that we were having. So in this case, for example, next time, if I modify this policy to put a brute guesser, the next time that I run this simulation is going to deny my traffic. And we can see, for example, in this case, to which environment this rule is applied, which are in this case, all the full environment is protected, let's say that. And we can see if any of this traffic was blocked or was flagged or was whatever the action that I create was triggered. Okay. The last thing that I want to share here, and this is because, as I was telling you before this meeting, I have another meeting according security, advanced API security. If you want to have more information from more than 2 weeks, you can have the security reports, and the security reports has three new metrics that are going to allow us, sorry, three new more dimensions, sorry, three new dimensions that are related to the advanced API security. So with these three dimensions, we can create a dashboard more than 2 weeks. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. As I was telling you, it was a brief deep dive. It wasn't a full deep dive. Hopefully, it was interesting for you, and I'm more than happy to have some questions.
Thank you, Luis. Thanks, everyone. I want to say shout out to this community user who shared this question in advance. And we also got another one in the Q&A. So which one would you like to take first?
Which question? I'm seeing just the one in the presentation.
Yeah, I'll read out loud the one that we got. So then you go ahead with that one.
Okay. You said you are going to read it out loud? Sorry.
Yes, but let's please first go with this one, which we
Okay.
got in
I
advance.
misunderstood. Sorry.
Sorry about
Okay.
that.
The question is, will AI replace API to interconnect applications? I don't know. Tyler, anyone want to answer, or you give me that pleasure to me? If not, you are on mute, Tyler, if you are talking. Okay, I'm going
Has to be
to
you.
start. I'm going to start. Actually, one of the slides that this presentation starts with is talking about how AI is impacting the growing of the API ecosystem. So I'm going to talk about what we as a Apigee organization see, and then my personal opinion. Okay, the first thing is that we are foreseeing that with AI, especially with Gen AI, the creation of the API, the interaction of the APIs are going to be multiplied. Actually, it's going to be exponential, because you can see that people that are not from business are going to be able to create new APIs and are going to be able to create new interactions. So this is going to happen, and it's happening right now. That's why, for example, we have the shadow APIs in order for you or for the companies to be aware if anyone creates, for example, a new chatbot or a new agent or something like that, that you can be protect or that you can be aware that that company was created and you can be and you can protect that asset. So that's pretty much what Apigee is foreseeing. In my opinion, what I'm thinking is not is not going to replace the interconnect APIs to interconnect application, but it's going to make that interconnectivity or interoperability more smoothly. For example, it's going to allow us to understand what is happening behind, what is happening in the front. For example, in the case of the attacks, you can see that Gemini explained me how the attack was processed or which were the reason of the attack. So in my personal point of view, what I'm seeing is that is going to help us a lot to create better integration, to create better ecosystem, and to have a enhanced API program. I don't
Maybe
know.
I can add
Uh,
something, Luis.
Please,
Yeah,
Simon.
I agree with your answer. I would say that the challenge is basically to get the right interfaces for AI, right? Like, so AI needs connectivity to any system, and sometimes it's through API, sometimes it's through integration and connector and so on. But the challenge is to make sure that our platforms, Apigee and application integration, help customer build as fast as they help customer build their interface as fast as they can. So AI is a way to build these interfaces to quickly go from something which is like a technical API to a business API, for example. But as well, it's a way of accelerating the AI project, because more the interfaces are interfaces. So they are here. They are like usable by AI, and faster the AI project will go. So it's more like a question of how fast we can go there, more than if one will replace another.
Thank you, Simon.
Perfect.
Much appreciated. So I guess that wraps up this question, and I'm gonna move on to the other one we have from Agritoho. They are asking, what tools do we have in Apigee to have observability and monitoring of the security state?
Okay. We have, I'm going to take this question, or I'm going to split this question into two parts, okay? The components that we are having by default and not having in mind advanced API security, and the components that we are having for advanced API security. For example, what we are having in Apigee is two main components regarding analytics. The first thing is going to be monitoring. So the idea is that we have near real-time monitoring in order for you to understand what is happening with the APIs. So you can go to, I'm going to share my screen. You can go to the console and you can see in the proxy development something called API monitoring. And in this API monitoring, as I was telling you, you can analyze what is happening with your APIs according, for example, with timelines, according, for example, with the error rate, latencies, and so on. You can split or you can make a filter based on the environments, based on region, based on proxies, and so on. That's pretty much the first component. And additional to this, you can see here that you can create alerts based on the on this monitoring in order for you to create, for example, threshold metrics or something like that, to take some action according to the metrics that you define if something is not as you expected, okay? And the second component that we're having here pretty much is going to be data analysis or analytics itself, that you are going to have different kind of dashboards in order to analyze different kind of metrics to see what is happening across the time with my APIs. For example, you can see here the queries per second or transactions per second that we're having also pretty much in near real time. And you can see how is the interaction of across the time of all of these components, okay? You can see, for example, API proxy performance, error codes, latency, cache, target, and performance, and everything. You can see that some components are pretty similar to the monitoring, because one is for monitoring and the other one is going to be for analysis, okay? And you can see also different kind of dashboard that you can use. And in this same sense, you can have custom dashboards in order for you to create your own analysis. For example, if you see that the predefined dashboards are not like doesn't suit your needs, you can come here. You are going to have different kind of metrics in order to create your own dashboards, to be more accurate with the information that you need. You are going to have also different kind of dimensions in order to understand everything. And additional to this, if you can see here, we can have also metrics that you can create. In Apigee, we have something called data capture policy. With the data capture policy, it can be a metric in order for you to make analysis in this component. So these are the main two things that we are having for analytics and monitoring in Apigee, without having in count, for example, advanced API security. Now having in count advanced API security, I just show you what we are having here. For example, we have the risk assessment in order to analyze the deployment of the API proxies. We have the security reports in order to analyze if we have some threats across the time. We also have the abuse detection in order to understand if something is happening with, or if someone is attacking us, or if there is an anomaly traffic happening with our Apigee environment. So that those like two main components are the things that we are having in Apigee for monitoring observability. I don't know, Tyler, Simon, or somebody else if has something different to share. Nope.
No, I think that covers it. Yeah. Mhm.
Same here. You covered everything, Lucho.
Thank you, team.
Okay,
Lucho,
there
we
is
got
a
another
really,
question.
really good question. And this is a deep dive question, okay? How does advanced API security fit with other web and security services like Cloud Armor? Need both, or what is the difference? Okay, so I'm going to say something that I usually tell to my customers, is that a good technology never replace a good practice. When we are talking about, in general, security, when we are exposing services to external or to the internet, it's highly recommend to always have a web application firewall, because we are going to avoid some volumetric attacks and everything. So let's start saying that this is the best practice that we can have. So just to start to replying the question, we see this as a complementary. For example, when we are talking about Cloud Armor is going to help us to protect enough volumetric attacks. For example, layer 4 attacks, or maybe also layer 7 attacks. DDoS or the DDoS attacks also are going to be suitable in these components. We also can define some rules according to the network to be protected. Some WASP protection we can define in the web, okay? But let's imagine that something or a call that is valid for a PG is also valid for a web. Let's say that a call that has an API, that has a perfect, a valid backend, that has the proper configuration in order to be identified as a legitimate traffic to the backend. So in this case of Cloud Armor, is going to say, or in the case of the web, is going to say, okay, it looks like a legitimate request to the backends. It has the IP key, or has the different components. So I'm going to allow the traffic. And here is where the specific bots or rules for the APIs are going to be in place. So the things that are not, like Cloud Armor is not meant to protect all of the API attacks. This is the work that advanced API security are going to do. So in those cases, for example, the specific attacks for the APIs can be also DDoS, or can be a root guesser, or can be a flutter just for the APIs. Here is where advanced API security arises and is going to protect. So you are going to have a layer protection depending on the kind of attack that you are having, that is going to act on that attack. I don't know, Tyler, Simon, maybe. Oh, Maria, I saw you here. Yeah. So just to summarize, those are complementary protections to the APIs. Okay.
Thank you, Luis. We've got another question. They're asking, is advanced API security available for Apigee hybrid version?
Yes, and that's also a pretty good question. I should start for for the architecture, right? Let me see if I have by hand the architecture here. Let me see. I'm guessing not. No, I don't have the architecture here. So, but advanced API security, how advanced API security works is in two components, okay? The first component is going to be in the management plane or the control plane of Apigee. So regardless if you are having hybrid or you're having X, this is going to work. The risk assessment is going to work. The security action is going to work. Everything is going to work. So the big difference is going to happen when you are going to take the actions. So if you are going to have an action, of course, it's going to take into the cloud, Google Cloud. In the case of X, in the case of hybrid, the security action is going to occur in the runtime plan. But just to simplify the response, as we are having the main component or the analysis component in the data plane, it doesn't matter if it's hybrid or X. So in the hybrid component, it works pretty well also.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Luis. So I guess that's it from the questions we've got in the Q&A section. But if anyone has any other comment or wants to open their mic to just come right into and share your questions, you're more than welcome. And in the meantime, I guess I can start sharing that. Thank you, Liz, for this presentation and going into this concise deep dive, like you said it. We look forward to having you again engaging in our Google Cloud community. And if we can please go to the next slide, Lucio, we'll very much appreciate if you can take some time to share your feedback with us. So here's the QR, and I'm also going to paste the link for you in the chat so you can take a couple of minutes in sharing the feedback from this session. So I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. Anyone wants to raise, if you want to raise your hand, and then we can give you the go for open your mic, please. You're more than welcome.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Alex, Tyler, Maria, Simon, for being here. And thank you so much for all the people that was connected for the whole hour. Thank you so much for everything. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope you we are willing to see you next year in these sessions, okay?
Yes, we look forward. Have a nice holiday. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.